What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another professional picks video. We are officially 2 weeks away from the greatest sporting event of the year, the Super Bowl. In this video, I'll be talking about each team's keys to the game if they want a chance and what they're going to need to do to win the Super Bowl, as well as my game predictions, talking about the spread, the winner straight up, and the over-under. If you enjoyed the video, definitely give it a like and let me know in the comment section who you're taking and why. And then if you enjoy the content, definitely subscribe because there's going to be more stuff for the Super Bowl coming out later in the week where I post our official bets along with a lot of game and other fun props for the Super Bowl as well. And you're not going to want to miss those. Let's take a look at how we got here for the Rams beating a couple divisional opponents, which is never easy in the playoffs, and Tom Brady, which is even harder with the Buccaneers, and also a very tough path for the Bengals having to take down the number 1 and the number 2 seed both on the road. So should be a very good game between two really good offenses and maybe some surprise teams. Certainly the Bengals, most people weren't expecting to be here, and the Rams preseason were plus 1,600 favorites to make the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. So some unlikely characters here as both these teams are the 4 seed coming out of their respective conferences. Opening lines right away, you see that the Rams are favored by -4. I would be intrigued to see what this line is if the Super Bowl was somewhere other than Los Angeles. Being and playing in the Super Bowl in your hometown in front of a home crowd definitely is advantageous for the Rams, as that crowd noise will be a bigger factor than it normally would it be at a neutral site for the Super Bowl. Near the money line, you see that the Rams are -196. These odds are implying about a 66% chance win probability for the Rams. So again, about 4 points and a 66% chance. Rams are the early favorite here, with some really good wins coming out of this NFC. And again, being at home helps as well. And with these two really strong and high-powered offenses, you get the total a little higher than normal at the over-under being 50. I'll talk about these picks in a second for each of these columns, but first I want to talk about the keys to the game for each team. And I'll start first with the Bengals. Their strength, if you've watched any of their games, especially recently, you know that their strengths are explosive offense, especially their weapons in the passing game. Joe Burrow is going to lead that offense and really drive a lot of their things that they're doing. He's doing a great job so far. But Joe Mixon at running back, who is just as good as running between the tackles as he is catching the ball out of the backfield, and a trio of really good wide receivers there with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. Those guys are really have given the Bengals a revival this year and allow their offense to thrive. The weakness is also on their offense, and I mentioned all these great skilled players that they have. Putting up points in that explosive offense, but their O-line is not doing them any favors. It's long been a criticism of the Bengals for the last couple of years. It's the need to repair their O-line. They haven't really used their draft capital to address those issues. A lot of people were upset with the Bengals management when they drafted Jamar Chase with the 4th pick instead of one of those top highly rated offensive linemen this past year. Obviously, it's worked out for them, but their O-line has definitely had some struggles, as you didn't see too much against the Chiefs, but it was very apparent against the Titans. And we'll talk about later, the Rams have a pretty solid pass rush. So their offense is what really limits the ceiling and the floor for that Bengals offense. Really good spots of skilled players, but the big guys up front, a little bit of a weakness for this Rams offense. And their X factor for the game, if they want to win, hoist the Lombardi Trophy in 2 weeks' time, is this pass protection. Again, their O-line's their weakness, but where they really struggle isn't so much in run blocking, it's the pass blocking. There are times when Joe Burrow just has no time to let his progressions and routes develop, and he's either rushed or sacked, knocked off his spot, forcing his throws to be a little bit more inaccurate than they otherwise would be. It's going to be very, very meaningful in this game, again, with the Rams who have such a good pass rush. So if the Bengals can allow, and their offensive line can allow Joe Burrow to get some time back there and let his routes develop and get the ball to his stud receivers, it's going to be a very competitive game. If the O-line shows up and plays like the way they did in Tennessee, it's going to be a long day for Joe Burrow. Because switching to the Rams, you see here their strength is their pass rush. They have one of the greatest defensive players of our generation in Aaron Donald, who can do it all from any spot, whether he's rushing from the interior defensive line or on the edge. He can beat you with both power and speed. He's just a handful of block and a guaranteed double, if not triple team, that offensive line. He's going to give that line a handful. Outside of that, you got great speed edge rusher in Von Miller and a pretty formidable other edge rusher in Leonard Floyd. So three guys there that are above average, if not exceptional, at rushing the passer. And that's really key for the Rams because they only have to rush four guys to generate solid pressure on the quarterback, which is huge. You saw it against the Niners and the Buccaneers and the Cardinals as well. They only need to get four guys, and that allows them to drop back seven guys in coverage and really try to shut down and blanket the passing game, which again is going to be huge because that's how the Bengals win their games with their great passing attack. So that's going to be a key matchup to watch, is that pass rush from the Rams versus the O-line of the Bengals, where the Rams have their weaknesses. They don't have many, I'll be honest. They're a very complete and well-rounded team. When they struggle, it's in their rush offense. That's something, again, you saw against the Buccaneers and the 49ers, is that they were not really able to get anything going with the run game, which is tough because the run game is what fuels a lot of offenses, the Rams included. So the Bengals don't have nearly as good of a run defense as the Niners or the Buccaneers. So it'll be a little bit easier for the Rams to get a run game going and keep this offense balanced, which I think is very important in any football game, especially the Super Bowl, when your opponent's going to get 2 weeks to game plan against you and try to shut down the passing game. So this rush offense is where they struggle, but I think they will definitely focus on that in these next 2 weeks and try to address that. Again, the Bengals don't have an exceptional run defense, so it's going to be a little bit easier for Sony Michel and Cam Akers, who got a little banged up against the 49ers with his shoulder, to get something going in the run game and maybe let the offense develop that, work off that, set up the play action pass, and get some big strikes deep with that development in the run game. The X factor for the Rams that's going to decide their fate in this game is their secondary. While we all know the Rams at cornerback have one of the best in the league, Jalen Ramsey, but outside of that, they're very thin, especially at safety. They are so thin at safety that they had to go out and sign 37-year-old retired football player Eric Weddle to fill in. Guy hasn't played football in 2 years. Again, 37 years old, hasn't taken a snap in over 700 days, and they added him to the roster, and he's playing significant minutes. So if that's any indication of how thin they are, they're just picking up guys off the street who haven't played football in a while to patch up the holes in their defense in the secondary. So again, the strength of this Bengals is their explosive offense. They're going to be passing the ball all day. That's part of their identity. And it's going to be very interesting to see how those either old or inexperienced young secondary for the Bengals outside of Ramsey hold up. So again, two huge matchups to watch. That Rams D-line pass rush against the weak Bengals offensive line, and then the great offensive passing attack of the Bengals against the thin secondary of the Rams. Each team is going to try to leverage these strengths against their opponent's weaknesses to give them a chance. And I think whichever team does the best to exploit the other team's weakness that's going to be the difference in the game, and that's going to be the team that ultimately wins. So going back to the lines, I think you got to take, if you're betting on this game, I think you got to take the Bengals +4. The reason being is if this playoffs have proved anything, is that the NFL is very competitive. Even when you think a team's far and away better than the other one, they're a lot closer in talent than you might think. If the last 5 or 6 games plus in the NFL are any indication, they've all been so close. Most of them, if not almost all of them, have been decided by a walk-off field goal or touchdown. So these games have all been really close. I don't think there's any reason to believe, the way that either of these two teams are playing, that this game's going to be any different. I think it's going to be a very competitive game. Two really solid teams that are both hot at the right time. It's going to be a very close game. I think, especially with the way that offense and the Bengals are rolling right now, giving them 4 points is pretty generous, and I think that's a smart move. That being said, I like the Rams to win this game. In any game, especially the Super Bowl, I'm always partial to the team with a better defense and more playmakers on the defensive side of the football. That is the Rams in this case. While the Bengals do have some really solid players, like the cornerback Awuzie is really good, and Trey Hendrickson at the pass rush position, key players there, but ultimately they just don't match up with the talent that the Rams have on defense, and that's why I really like them. But also, the Rams have 2 superstars at wide receiver, in Odell Beckham Jr. and Cooper Kupp. You cannot guard both these guys in their offense, and play calling with Sean McVay is so good and so well planned that you just can't stop both those guys. If Matt Stafford's got time in the pocket, he will find them. and you can't guard those guys one-on-one. You just can't do it. So their X factor players for the Rams on both offense and defense, I think, are better than what the Bengals have to offer. And then I think experience plays a lot in this one as well. The Rams are more of a veteran team, certainly than the really young Bengals. I don't know if this moment might be too big for some of these players. I'm sure that won't be a huge factor, but it's certainly going to matter. It's the Super Bowl. There's a lot of expectations, and I much rather have an experienced team with veteran players on the roster like the Rams versus a really young team where most of their playmakers, if not all of them, are pretty young and new to the league. I think that will make a difference. And so I like the Rams to win this game, again, in a very close, competitive game. And then for the total, I like the over here. I'm talking about it all video, how good of offenses both these teams have, and especially in the passing game. So both these offenses should be able to put up points in a hurry if need be. Think about 2-minute drills, fourth quarter comeback type stuff like that. Both these offenses have plenty of capabilities to move the ball downfield. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think you're going to see a lot of points from both sides. And so I like the over here. I think both these quarterbacks are going to be passing the ball early and often. I think the wide receivers are going to win their matchups for both teams, and just you're going to see a lot of points, a lot of yardage put up in a very entertaining offensively driven Super Bowl. If I had to give my prediction for the score, I'd probably say Rams 27, Bengals 24. Again, Rams winning in a close one, Bengals covering that +4 spread, and that over 50 points hitting. So that's a quick video for at least just a breakdown of picks and predictions. Later in the week, I'll be putting out things for our official bets, including some fun prop bets, player props, game props, things of that nature. So you're definitely going to want to catch that as well. But again, let me know who you're taking in Super Bowl. Obviously, we get 2 weeks to discuss and have lively conversations about it. It should be a great game. This NFL playoffs in 2022 has been one of the best in recent memory. I'm hoping for a great game to cap off this season. But definitely like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section. And one last word before we go. Don't forget to sign up for Prize Picks. If you use our code PROPICS, you get your deposit match, which is nice.